So thanks, Amadeus. Thanks for coming. Thanks for joining us here at Wifimilk.com, the podcast, season 2.
Thank you for having
I just wanted to start by asking you to tell us with your a bit about your background and tell us.
So yeah, I'm Amadeus Lombardi. I'm 21 years old and I'm originally from Switzerland. And since almost 3 years now, I'm living in the UK, where I started a few businesses, mainly within the fashion industry. And while I'm doing that, I'm also studying business at Hult International Business School. And I'm leading a kind of incubator for students studying at Hult by managing some of our events and some of our speakers.
Okay. Wow. That's pretty cool. So can you tell us more about the businesses you've founded and what have you done there and yeah.
Mm-hmm. So the first business founded is a fashion business, which is using recycled materials to produce fashion. And we basically had two major collections. One was the launch collection, where it was mainly about streetwear, and then the winter came up, so it was more about winter wear, like jackets and warmer clothes. And basically what we're doing is what differentiates us from fast fashion is the aspect of these recycled materials, which makes fashion a little bit closer to being sustainable, rather than just using any kind of sources or materials used by fast fashion, which you can find on the high street. So that's the first business we started successfully within also a Kickstarter campaign where we achieved our goals. We were part of the CGIU program, the Clinton program worldwide, within students which are having a social impact on the planet. And the second startup, actually founded during that lockdown in March, was about selling overproduced products, whether it's fashion or whether it's any other product. Because what we're seeing globally right now is that while most of the businesses overproduce all of their products they're selling, most of it gets burned or destroyed, and there's no value to it. So by actually increasing prices and offering it also to customers, maybe not being able to afford certain products, we see that there's a huge demand, especially for designer clothes, and especially also obviously during the lockdown to save the money, to have those discounts applied to certain products. And brands themselves are happy too, because they can decrease their impact by destroying their products, and they can still have some money out of the production they either way already did in the past. And then I wrote a book, which is not really a business, it's more of a hobby, more of a project, which I had for myself. And it's about motivating young entrepreneurs, young people to do something, to move on with their life, to have something happening, and to get out of this idea of I'm not good enough, I'm not able to achieve certain things.
Wow, pretty cool. So just I'll link the link to all your businesses and the book on the description, so if that helps. We'll talk about the book later, but I have a question. So for the outlet, is it called outlet brand? What's it called?
It's online brand outlet.
Okay. So you're selling, high-end brands, clothing, right?
So it's kind of all kind of brands, but of course we can see that there's a huge demand for more designer clothing, because most people don't really have access to it, or it's just really too expensive. So when we can bring down the price by 50, 60, 70%, people are very happy to go for it, because it's something people are striving for.
So you guys are, you're still a startup, right? You're quite small. So, like how those brands, like they're big, right? How do they not go to other outlets and go to you? What do you offer to them? I think that's interesting, since a lot of our listeners are very young entrepreneurs or young people who aspire to be entrepreneurs, and I think that could help them too.
Sure. I mean, as you said, the market kind of we're having is very small. But those brands, of course, don't rely on us. They have, global platforms where they have a second market, such as the outlet market in general, either if it's offline or online. But basically, what happens is you can get in contact with any kind of brand, post an email or just get a contact over LinkedIn, get in contact with the brand itself because they're looking for that kind of solution. And as our business is really small still and it's a startup, it's mainly concentrated with drop shipping. That also allows us to, not have such big expenditure on stock itself and being able to still have the updated products for our for the people buying from us. So any entrepreneur can do it. It's really easy. You send an email, you send a letter, you get in contact with somebody and you see what's going on. And basically, what happens is that we get an updated product catalog, and we post those products on our website. We have a buying price which we have from the brand itself, and we have a selling price, giving it back to the customer. And this is how it works. It's pretty
Wow.
simple. And
Okay.
everybody.
So you don't get that like 90% of them don't answer, or no, like most of them do, or
I mean, if you're consistent, if you're professional, if you get in contact with the right people, I would say yes. And of course, there are brands which are not answering, brands in general, which also do not do outlet shopping in general. So, but the way we saw the success working is when we went in contact with smaller brands. So the first company we contacted was not, a Calvin Klein or a Burberry. It was more a smaller scale brand, which kind of had this problem of overproduction in general, and which was also, of course, easier to get in contact with just because it's not that big of a company itself. So if you start with smaller brands, maybe even local brands, which you might have wherever you're living, you get in contact with them. I can promise you, each and every company selling a product has this kind of problem, and they're looking for a solution because every product that doesn't sell loses money for them.
yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah. So yeah, I wanted to ask you how all these started. Like, it was, yeah. How did it start? So you said one of them started during lockdown. Uh, yeah, explain that more. And what about the other one?
So exactly. So this route that, as I mentioned, started during lockdown, just because it was very visible, very, very quickly, it was very visible that there's going to be a huge overproduction, just, of the nature of the industry, that companies are planning, 6, 7, 8 collections already in front while they're still selling the first one. So that's just the nature of it, that there's just a general overproduction. And that's what kind of motivated us to start this. For SLAM, which is the sustainable fashion company, it was more the idea also through studying in Hult, which allowed us to get in contact with with certain individuals, helping us to find suppliers for what we wanted to do, and having the whole supply chain listed up. And also, of course, just the trend, which is driving it, the trend for sustainable clothing, the trend for having less of an impact, a trend of paying more for having it aligned with your morals or with whatever kind of impact you have on the planet. So I think it's mainly trends that drive it, but of course also the connections you have, of course also the kind of capabilities you have to start a company. And
Yeah.
for sustainable fashion, it was definitely the capabilities, the connections we had to start itself. And for the book, it's mainly about where I'm coming from. So before I even studied at Hult, I didn't really have that business mindset. I didn't have the mindset of what am I going to do. I just said, okay, either way, I would like to study abroad, so I'm going to do it. And I think it's a great adventure also for myself.
Mhm.
But I saw the kind of mindset that opened up, not only through the university, but just through also the people you get to know. So you have more ideas, you have more of a motivation, you have more of also the excitement to do something great. Even though all the companies are very small, we have a certain impact, and I think this is really what pays out. So I wanted to share that with all of those which are afraid of going that step, which think they're not good enough to achieve certain things, and
Yeah.
give them something to do that step because it's really fulfilling and it really brings you further in life.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. I think a lot of people are, scared of failure and doing something. So yeah, scared of failure, and that stops a lot of people from doing stuff. Yeah. So I have a follow-up question to how it started. So was it any of those businesses were accidental, or you planted them from the beginning?
Actually, that's a very interesting question, because with the outlet there was kind of the idea before, just because of the people I am with and who I am myself. I just naturally like shopping. I just naturally like the industry. So I wouldn't say that it was really purely accidental, but I think the time it started was connected with the situation we were in. So I didn't, write a business plan half a year before the lockdown. I didn't start planning for it. It was not on my, to-do list. But the moment I realized what kind of problems it's going to bring within this industry, we acted, or I acted together with my business partner, and I think that was the time when we really realized, there is some potential in making something big out of it. So yeah, not purely accidental, but I think at the right time.
Yeah. So was there anything that made you decide to start it, or just in general?
I think it's a passion. So
Yeah.
if you're starting, that low, if you're starting without investors, if you're starting at such a low scale, I think it's really the passion. It's really the drive you need to have. So no, there wasn't anything else that actually made me.
Okay. Well, yeah, that's fair enough, and passion is crucial. You gotta believe in what you're doing, otherwise, because I there's another episode of this podcast, and we talked with Professor Fisher. He says there's a lot of people that want to start businesses, but they're just driven by money, so they just want to do it because they want to be rich. And so that's not, if that's your goal, you're not gonna get anywhere, right? You gotta believe in what you're doing, and certainly you do, right? Yeah.
No, I think it's also, it's not money driven. I mean, it has a certain impact, and I think nowadays it's also kind of important to have that impact, because if we don't act, if we're purely concentrated on profit, we miss out on so many other things, or we destroy so many other things. So I think it's really important to also have that certain impact and connecting it, to the passion you already have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So knowing you're 21, I'm 21 too, so same age. So what was the process of starting it during college? I mean, there's a personally, sometimes I'm not taken seriously because of my age. Was it did it happen to you as well, or how you see this?
I think when it comes to the seriousness, it's really about with who you're talking. So I mean, whenever you're not taking serious, it's because people, might even fear you, might fear your potential. So I think it's really important to talk to the right people who are really interested in bringing you further. I think that's somebody everybody, needs to figure out themselves. Who are the people I really want to talk to? Because do you want to talk to somebody who doesn't take you serious? Probably not. So if you're in the beginning already have a plan, I want to talk to, XYZ person, then you can really also develop the kind of support you need, especially with the age we're in. And I personally had great experience. So if it was professors at the universities, if it was individuals I met somewhere else, if it's even entrepreneurs which are on the same kind of path we are on, it's a very supportive community. So I feel I had a great experience with that.
Okay. So you didn't have any issues, or
I mean, of course there are issues everywhere. There are issues, in a world where there are no issues, that wouldn't be, that would be weird. But it's really about where do you focus yourself on. And I think I focus myself on the positive things of the people that want to support me better than on the opposite. And I think that
Okay.
makes.
Well, what about the schedule? So, because you have classes. How do you? Yeah.
It's a drowning process. It's not like you can have a very easy life studying. You can just go to your lectures, do your work, and it's fine. But I think if you do this step and if you're really interested in doing so, then you're gonna have those sleepless nights. You're gonna have those long evenings, those early mornings, and I think that's part of the personal development. So there are crazy schedules. I mean, after I had a lecture, I go to work. If I have a report to do, I do the report. After report, I go to work. So it really depends on how motivated you are yourself, and if you have enough passion, if you have enough motivation to make a change, I think you can manage it. Even if it's a very drowning process, 100%.
And that's the fun of it too. Being having to wake up early or go to bed late too. So yeah, I mean, I'm not saying I enjoy it, but yeah.
It's part of the process, and I mean, it's gonna sooner or later it's gonna pay off. Even if, let's say, any business you're doing right now, it's not successful, it's always a learning curve, and that's kind of my mindset.
Mhm.
Even though I do not have the time to, I do not have so much free time. I do not have the time to every day walk around in London and do nothing. No, I do not have that time. But I'm learning something. And when I'm entering into the job market, or if I go on with my businesses, whatever it is, I have some knowledge which I acquired in the past, and I can take it with me into the future. And I think that's the fulfilling part of it.
Mhm. Yep. Yeah. Have you had any, I know people don't like to use this word, but failures or, I know people, like to use learnings or, yeah. Have you had any of those? And, how, no?
Yes, 100%.
Okay.
And there are a lot of failures. I mean, a good one to mention maybe is the sustainable fashion brand. While we started off, I mean, it worked well. We had, some sales, but nothing really, crazy. It wasn't a company that really kicked off in the beginning, and it's still not. But even though we tried our best, even though we really put in the work, there was always something that was missing. And what is mainly missing is, for us at least, is the ability to do everything. And I think that's what people often underestimate. That especially if you're selling a product, it's not only the product which you need to develop. You can have a great product, but if you cannot market it, nobody will know about it and nobody will buy it. And I think that was our biggest failure. And we had a product which I believe was all right. It was marketable, but nobody knew about it, and nobody really had the interest to buy it just because there was no community built around it. There was no branding built around it, and I think that was the major issue. And additionally to that, I mean, there's a lot of failure, with people not believing in you. Still people saying, it's not a good enough, product. But you're always going to have those people around you. That's
Mhm.
just how. But I think one of the failures was really understanding that you need help, and that's something that I learned, and now I have help around me. I have people, supporting me. I have people also to a certain extent working with the companies we have right now, which therefore accelerates the growth way quicker than doing everything there. So
Okay. Um, do both startups still working? Like, yeah.
yeah, so the outlet is working, yeah, and Slam, the sustainable brand, it's on hold. Let's let's call it on hold.
Okay.
Uh, Mainly concentrating right now on the outlet, just because the industry which is opening up, just because of the current global situation which we have. So that's another failure, maybe, thinking that you can do everything at the same time. It might work, but none of both, or even if you have 3 or 4 things, none of them, if you don't have any employees, if you don't have any people working for it, will have a big growth, because you're doing everything, but you're not doing one thing the right way. So we made the hard decision of saying, all right, we're putting it on hold. We think it's a great idea, and maybe we'll come back to it in the future. But right now, we're really hard working on the outlet and on also, developing the awareness around it.
Okay. When do you think you're gonna start working on it again?
I don't know. I really have no idea. Right now, it's for sure not on the priority list.
Okay. And the online brand outlet, is it doing good?
Yeah, so for what we're investing in terms of time and money, we believe, yes, it does. It could be bigger, no questions asked, but we're having more of the natural growth, which we were looking into, and not, pumping in too much money. We're also not looking for investors right now, but we're mainly, just having the natural growth by working with our associates, which we have. I mean, these are some students or some young individuals like us trying to, have a little bit of network marketing and things like this going on. So we have globally, we're represented by individuals, having more, giving the awareness about what we're doing. So through that, we saw a growth, and we see that it's working, and we try moving on like that with the natural growth.
Okay. Yeah. What has the hardest moment been so far?
That's a really, really good question. I think the hardest moment was the decision of deciding to not move on with Slam, which is the sustainable brand, just because it's something you put in so much work. So if you suddenly
it's your baby, right? Yeah.
Suddenly decide you're putting it on hold, that means that your work is not gone, but it means that what you have worked on so far, you're not really engaging with it anymore, and therefore obviously it's going to decrease in terms of awareness, in terms of how people engage with it and so on. So I think that was one of the hardest decisions, just also because it was the first company kind of opened under my name, and but nevertheless, we hope to get back to it, soon.
Cool.
I think a lot of people in our age or even younger, let's say, 18, 19, they don't see themselves doing great things. They don't see themselves, especially where I come from. Okay, I come from the countryside. So where I'm coming from, people go to school and then they study something and they will go back to the village they grew up in. But it's not this idea of, okay, I can do something big, I can achieve something big, even though a lot of young people have it inside of them. They always think about it. They always say, okay, I want to change that in the world. I want to change this in the world, but they're not doing the step towards it.